Hi, I'm Jackson Bird, and this is a peek into my everyday life almost a decade into transition. So Ty Turner made a video like this last year called The Life of a Thriving Trans Man. It's very good. I highly recommend you watch it if you haven't already. This video is completely inspired by it. It is basically the same thing, but my version, Jack's version. And like Ty, I am not thriving in every aspect of my life, but I am pretty content and well past the most turbulent parts of early transitioning. And honestly, it feels amazing to be freed from constantly having transition on my mind, and I wish that freedom and solace of mind for everyone who wants it. But a common trend with trans men specifically is like once we have gotten a few years into transition, we kind of drop off the map. The YouTube channels dry up, we're not as present at trans community events, and it creates this pattern where most of the trans men that you see in the public eye are pretty early into their transition. And that's fine, that's great, but it is also so important to be able to see fellow trans people who are older and who transitioned years, decades ago. You know, apart from the history and wisdom that they can share, just physically seeing them is so reassuring. And I have sort of been one of those trans men dropping off the map recently. And a lot of that is for life and work reasons, but I do think I also lost a bit of that fire, you know, to share every detail of my transition and every new thing that I was learning about being trans. But I would like to be more present, especially, I think, as I get older and later into transition and have less transition stuff to share, because I mean, isn't it just as powerful, maybe in some ways more so, to see a trans man just out there living his life? And so often we hear narratives of trans people trying to survive because, yeah, it's gotten real bad out there. So we have to talk about that. But I think it is also important to show trans people thriving, to remind each other that we deserve and can achieve happiness, and to show any naysayers that being allowed to live as our authentic selves leads to happy, contented lives. And not just allowed, but encouraged, supported. I mean, I have been so lucky to live somewhere with such a vibrant LGBTQ community here in New York City, and it is because of the support that I got from this community that I am out and living a happy life today. So I just want to show you a few things that I've been up to lately, what an average life looks like for me almost a decade into transitioning, starting with an example of a community coming together in the face of discrimination to create something beautiful. This is the St. Pat's for All Parade in Sunnyside, Queens. It's the only parade I know of that kicks off with dykes on bikes, followed immediately by a traditional pipes and drums marching band. See, throughout the 90s, the big centuries-old St. Patrick's Day parade in Manhattan denied the Irish gay and lesbian organization from openly marching in the parade. It turned the parade into an annual protest site for LGBTQ folks, and in 2000, Brendan Fay, a gay Irish immigrant, one of the main organizers who was arrested during protests against the parade, founded the St. Pat's for All Parade, an all-inclusive alternative parade taking place in one of the larger Irish neighborhoods in New York City. The Manhattan Parade finally started allowing LGBTQ+ groups to march in 2016, but the St. Pat's for All Parade lives on as an event celebrating tons of different cultures, causes, traditions, and identities.
Ho ho! Hey hey! Here in Queens, we say gay ho ho! Occupation is a crime!
As I watched the parade this year, I couldn't help thinking about all the towns across America where fights are breaking out at school board meetings as districts try to enact anti-trans policies. And of all the cis-straight allies who are standing side by side with LGBTQ+ folks to demand their protections. of the power that can come when a community rallies together to support those in need among them, and how even if you can't win the exact fight, you can come together to create something else that's maybe even more beautiful. It's like the late Representative Shirley Chisholm said, "If they don't give you a seat at the table, bring in a folding chair. And if they won't let you march in their parade, start your own dang parade." Anyways, after grabbing a post-parade drink in one of the local pubs, we headed over to one of my all-time favorite places, our local book swap, a huge 24/7 installation with a remarkably good selection. I always leave with more books than I need. Okay, listen, I understand I a little bit have a problem. I choose to frame it as, I'm a collector and I am working on my library. But living in New York is very dangerous for me. Not only did I just stop by a free media swap where this bag is full of books that I got, but, you know, in my neighborhood, people just put out boxes of books that they're getting rid of on the street, and you're just walking home and you see more books. So I intentionally got a few books, but then I also picked up a couple of more. In my defense, these are some books that I've literally gotten from the library before and have been meaning to buy because they're good reference books. Got all kinds of gardening books here. Excited for this one. It's in very good condition. And then actually I can't show you all of these books because one of them is a gift. Yeah, you know, I'm just gonna gift a book that I found on the street. It's fine. It's fine. Books are books. I am not someone who feels like books need to stay in perfect, pristine condition. I love buying used books. It's sustainable. It's cheap. The text is still there. And honestly, if there's like annotations in it from someone else or even just like coffee stains, it tells another story. It's an additional story. It's beautiful. I love it. It is beautiful out today. Just a few days ago, I was like bundled up and freezing on my way home at night, and today it's like 65 degrees Fahrenheit outside. It has been sunny all day. Ugh, freaking camera battery died. I am so out of experience with this, out of practice. But anyways, yes, it is gorgeous out today. I so love like the first day when it is warm and sunny after a long winter. It just feels nicer doing things when it's like sunny out again and everyone is happy outside. I am at a transitional and searching point of my life right now. I kind of know what I want my life to be and some steps to get there, and I'm close to going there, but I'm not there yet. And in so many ways it reminds me of early transition when I was like 90% sure I wanted to come out and tell people I was a man and start physically transitioning, but there were just like a lot of little logistical things I had to get there, and also still a lot of anxiety about it all and a lot of unknown about what would happen when I did it. I'm feeling that way in my life right now in terms of making a big move, figuring out my career, and so I'm just like a ball of anxiety. That's not the point of this video, but that's kind of where I'm at right now, which I think is just to say that like we all go through big things in our lives, and one of the biggest things that happened about a decade ago for me was coming out as trans, and there's so much more in my life beyond being trans, and so many other big things in my life that happened and will continue to happen, are happening now, that have nothing to do with being trans. There's so much more in my life and in every trans person's life beyond being trans. It seeps into so many parts of our lives and is relevant and challenging and beautiful in so many ways, but it is also not all of who we are. There are some ways that my life is kind of unique. Working in a theater company in New York City, that's a little unique. There are a lot of ways that my life is really boring just because of like who I am, and I don't want this in any way to come across of like, trans people, we're just like you, look how normal and ordinary my life is. But what I do want is to make a very strong point that I do believe every trans person deserves the right to be as boring as they want to be, or as unique and like flying the freak flag as they want to be. And we're at a point in our nation, in our society, in our world right now where that doesn't feel as assured as it did like 5 years ago. If it even did then, but definitely less than it felt then. Make them a little salmon, a little rice. Just getting some meal prep going for the week. Got a busy week ahead of me. I actually don't cook salmon that much, so we're gonna see how this goes. All right, let's see what we got. Looks like fish. I'm gonna say that's not too shabby. I had some younger relatives in town, so I took them to the 2 lesbian bars in Manhattan. I remember when I thought I was the only queer person in my family, and how lonely and scary that felt. It has been so heartening having other family members come out, and now seeing some of them as grown adults interfacing in LGBT life in their own ways. There's something resonant about it. Especially being in these bars where hardship is caked onto the walls as much as the cheeky art. It's another reminder of how lucky I am to have an accepting family, but also that I could find a family here if I needed it. It is a new day. It is Saturday. I am performing in the Infinite Wrench tonight. I am in an experimental theater company called the New York Neo-Futurists. New York Neo-Futurists. We perform 30 plays in 1 hour. So they are short plays, and they are all original plays that we in the company write ourselves. It's not like acting, it's performing. Like, we play ourselves, we tell true stories, and the plays are silly, they can be political, they can be dance numbers, they can be abstract avant-garde puppetry, or they can just be like personal monologues. And I've been doing that for a couple of years, and it is a lot of fun. It's an off-Broadway show in the West Village. We have been around for 20 years in New York City as of this year. So it's a very cool thing to be a part of. You gotta write new plays every week, learn new plays every week, 30 plays to perform in a random order as picked by the audience. We had a show last night. It went very, very well. It was a ton of fun. It was an absolute blast. And now I am getting ready to head out to rehearsal. We have rehearsals right before we have the show. I'm just packing up the last things that I need. Oops. I am putting together my props right now. Yes, my props include cake. This is a chocolate cake that I will give to someone in the audience. Experimental theater. You get cake. That's what happens at experimental theater, always. You always get cake. Not really. Okay, I need to check my list and make sure I have everything. I got my emergency oranges, and it is raining out tonight. Commuting in New York City in the rain. It's great. It's not too bad, all things considered. It's not raining too bad. On my commute to the theater, I walk by the Stonewall Inn, the site of not the first LGBTQ uprising against the cops, but the one that is largely acknowledged to have really ignited the LGBTQ civil rights movement in a broader, more lasting way. Especially when I get annoyed fighting through the crowds of people spilling out of the countless gay bars in this neighborhood as I rush to my call time, seeing Stonewall can be a good reminder of the progress that really has been made, and of the activists who fought so hard for my right to be annoyed at my fellow queers stumbling out of openly gay dance clubs blocking the sidewalks when I am in a grouchy hurry. Hey, Mike. You walked right into my establishing shot. Having made it to pre-show rehearsal, it is now time to set up all of our props and equipment for all 30 plays. And then sound check. Yeah, great. And run through a few plays that we want some extra rehearsal on. We do a few more tasks to get the theater ready for the audience. And after a quick huddle, it's showtime.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Infinite Wrench!
I had a revelation earlier this year while appearing on the podcast Material Girls. We were talking about Twilight. Yes, Twilight, the best movie of the year of our Lord, 2009. And about how much I used to rage against immortality, like the kind the vampires have in Twilight. I really just had this visceral gut reaction against it. But these days, I realized I'm into it. I would love to be immortal, to live for a few more centuries, see how things change, get a chance to do and learn and experience absolutely everything that I want to. And it occurred to me, literally while I was speaking on that podcast, my change in perspective on immortality is probably because I'm happy now. When I was at the depths of depression and dysphoria, the idea of having to live forever sounded like a nightmare, or at least having to live forever as someone that I wasn't. Now that I'm settled into who I am, I want all the life. Give me as many years as possible.
Are we vlogging?
Yeah, show's over. Anooj, how'd the show go?
Wow, it was so fun. I appreciate you asking me on camera. That show felt so long.
It's always 1 hour.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long night.
We hustled, it was a lot. And now we have to clean all of this up. The vlogbrella,
Hey,
yeah.
I'm doing Wordle.
Oh, Wordle, yeah, because it's after midnight.
Yep.
We finished the
holding
show.
an umbrella.
Mike's holding an umbrella. We finished the show, Bryn's here. We just did our post-show meeting. We cut a bunch of plays, and now it is almost daylight savings time.
Yeah.
Daylight savings is gonna start in like a half hour, less than that. Anooj, what time is it?
1:41.
1:41, we have 19 minutes until daylight saving.
It becomes 3.
It's gonna become 3 o'clock. We're missing the 2 o'clock hour. That's so sad. That's one of the best hours.
Damn, that's so real.
Wow.
It's a really important hour on nights like this.
Yeah, we're tired. We're losing an hour. So now that we are in a different neighborhood than we used to be in, we moved theaters from the East Village to the West Village, and my walk to the subway and the subway ride itself is a bit longer than it used to be, but there's one little magical thing that I get to do every night before I go home on the subway, and it is this. Coming up is the Independent Film Center, and on the side of the wall outside, here's the thing. It's even later than that. I mean, this is already late to get home, but the start of daylight saving has certainly made it feel so much more egregious. We also hit subway trouble. I ran into a castmate on the platform, and he had been waiting for a while and no trains were coming. Then we tried another station, and it just wasn't working, and so we ended up getting a car, having to splurge on a car that we split on the way home, and then he still had to bike from here. So, long night. It's still good though. It was a fun night. Such a good show, and I'm still like kind of feeling amped from it all. So, it's a good night. So late though. For so long, it was tough to see my future at all. And then when I figured out that I was trans, the only parts of my future that I could focus on were transitioning and being accepted as the man that I am. Finally, in the last several years, I have been able to focus on other life goals too, career goals like writing books and getting back into performing and getting to feel the joy of performing as a man, as myself. And I have the space in my brain to think about the kind of life that I want to live, about deepening relationships, learning new skills, going on adventures, and making a home of my own. It is amazing to be in this place now, but I often wish that I could have felt this kind of contentment earlier on. Like, back in college, when I was struggling so much with dysphoria that I was a horrible student and a worse friend. We talk so much about the dire survival stakes that so many trans kids are in right now because it is true for far too many of them. But there are also a lot of trans kids out there who are hanging on, but not doing nearly as well as they could be, not fulfilling their whole potential. And shouldn't we want the best for every kid, not just surviving, but thriving? If I had been welcomed to be myself, been given the material support and resources to transition at an earlier age, my mind would have cleared, my confidence would have skyrocketed, and who knows what I might have been able to achieve in college. But thanks to the support that I eventually did have when I transitioned at 25, I am now living a happy, healthy life. One that seemed impossible at certain points in my life. Every single trans kid out there deserves that future. We all deserve that future. Health, happiness, safety, love, as much excitement or stability as you want. And we've got to help each other when we can, because that support is crucial to getting us all to the futures that we deserve. Support like that doesn't just happen in New York City and doesn't just happen in organizations solely focused on LGBTQ+ rights. It can happen in arts organizations, in neighborhood parades, in sites of protest and sites of celebration, and even in groups made up of just 2 or 3 friends, or even strangers. Anywhere that people are willing to truly see each other and lend a helping hand. When systems fail us, we still have each other. So thank you to all of you who have always been there for me. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.